Hey, what's going on? I want to talk about this Black Panther Hysteria. First of all, I didn't see the movie yet. Might check it out today for all I know, but eventually I'll see it. Like I see all the Marvel movies, though I guess the only one I missed so far, which I guess that one fell under the radar, even though people talked about it, but it wasn't like a must-see movie, was that Thor Ragnarok movie. That's the only one I missed, besides the Black Panther. And yes, I am drinking water. Now, let me just say this. First of all, before any movie starts, you already know if it's called Thor, Black Panther, Captain America, whatever it's called, you already know the person that the movie is named after is going to win in the end. As before you even know anything that's going on. That's the way it always is. So, in that sense, there are no spoilers. But, let me get down to business in regards to the hysteria in black individuals and how black people so easily brainwashed. And obviously, those who disagree are the ones who are brainwashed, because when you're brainwashed, you don't realize that you've been brainwashed. You know, obviously, if you realize it, you wouldn't be brainwashed, which is why people like me don't get brainwashed. Now, you know the hype. First of all, like I told you before, if you can reference the Black Panther, not the Black Panther, I'm sorry, the Carolina Panther video I did with the Panther logo. I forgot what it was called, with the Panther logo with Diddy and Kaepernick. That one was about the Carolina Panthers team majority owner trying to sell the team, which, you know, after that whole news happened, I haven't heard anything from it since, or who, if anybody even purchased his share or not. But, like I referenced in the video, it was all what I call time bomb brainwashing. Slow brew brainwashing, planting seeds. So they put Black Panther, the Carolina Panthers, in your mind with the Black Panther Cam Newton, the Beyonce Black Panthers, Colin Kaepernick with the Black Panther suits, Diddy trying to buy the Panthers. It's I don't want to say Illuminati, but it's that Freemason, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, Illuminati setup. You know, for the powers that be in their puppets to start promoting things. That was something that got in your mind as so you can have it in your mind as Panther and Black Panthers, one way or the other. So then once this movie comes out, you're like, oh man, Black Panther, I gotta see it. And of course, with the usual social media paid propagandists and those who are instructed, which are the Freemasons, because they're instructed to support certain people, certain events, and certain things that are on the itinerary. All of them don't know exactly why they're doing it. All they know is they're doing what they're told. That's why you have all of the usual suspects and a whole bunch of the unusual suspects talking about Black Panther and how deep it is, and we need inspiration from it. But like I keep telling you, and I'm glad a lot of people are seeing it like I'm seeing it, so I'm going a step further. Most of the cast is not Black American. The Black Panther story is not based on America, Black Americans. It's not based on us. So why would you feel inspiration? Why would you feel proud of this movie as opposed to any other black movie? And the excuses are, well, all the cast is black. The writer, the director, they're black. We've had that kind of stuff in the past. I mean, come on, let's get real. But people don't celebrate it like that. Then other people take it a step further and say, listen, this is a positive film for black people. No drug dealers, no thugs, no music. Just positivity. Even though the people are going to war, killing each other, and having a whole bunch of destruction in the movie, but it's positive, That's what people always leave out all the time, And I said because, well, it's because it's not based on black America. That's why you don't have any thugs and drug dealers. Not to say that we're the thugs and the drug dealers. It's just that that's the stereotype that they want to keep putting on us, so they can't do that when you're talking about some Africans. And again, it shows what I've been telling you. Africans are treated better on film and in this society than black Americans. If we're African, then we should be treated like them. But instead, we're the ones with the constant target on our backs for some reason. Getting closer to the reason why. I already have a feeling. But, once the time permits, maybe in collaboration with others, I think we can solve this mystery. Because I see others are definitely getting with it, and I see some are getting with it, and I could tell they're regurgitating Yvette Carnell and what she's been saying. And which I don't mind her spreading this. But for those who follow Yvette Carnell, better watch out. Because in the future, she's going to spring something on you. See, these people, they set you up. It's like she's the lesbian. And like with a lot of lesbians, anybody looking for some sex. What they do with a lot of people that might be hard to penetrate, so to speak, they start becoming your friends, start doing things for you, buying you meals. Say, hey, man, you need a ride? And man is used as an expression, not just in case somebody's like, hey. But, you need a ride? Hey, I'll help you in your schoolwork, help you at your job, blah, blah, blah. People want to offer some help for no reason. They're looking to set you up, let down your guard, so after a while, you can say, hey, let's start getting to it. It's deeper than that. I think I explained how the lesbians operate in another video. And this is why I always say females and males, if you're not gay, there should be no reason why you should be hanging around any homosexuals unless it's a family member. Even then, you should watch yourselves. I'll be honest with you. But for people who follow Yvette Carnell's ways, on this African and Caribbean thing, that's cool. I'm just saying, watch out. She's going to spring something up on you in the future. And it's definitely going to be gay related. There's no doubt about that. Just watch out. So, this Black Panther, black people acting like it's some type of cultural phenomenon. Like I said, you always got the hype men, paid hype men, and unpaid hype men. And then this is what we call mass brainwashing to get everybody in line and on board and say, and to pique their curiosity and to say, hey, man, let me check out this Black Panther. Or in black people's case, you kind of been pressured into thinking, hey, I shouldn't check out the Black Panther, but I feel like I'm compelled to go see Black Panther. Then you have some people say, hey, I went to see it 2 and 3 times. I mean, come on, man. These movies come out on video and digital downloads and all that kind of stuff so fast you don't even have to go back to see it again. If you want my opinion on the Marvel movies, I think the best of the series, or all of them, have been Captain America. And I think the worst of all of them have been the Thor movies, if you ask me. I mean, Ant-Man was alright, but, I didn't like how they turned the guy into a comedian. I don't remember the guy being a criminal in the comic books, but maybe that's something they made up. I could be wrong, but I don't remember that. And I could have sworn that Ant-Man and Giant Man were 2 different guys, but again, I might be mistaken on that too. Because it has been a while since I read the comic books. But the last movie I could recall that I saw more than once in the theater was Star Wars, not Disney's, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace. And you know why people had to see that over and over, because it's like, damn, after Return of the Jedi, you thought that was it. Once he didn't come back out one anymore, then once he announced it, you're like, oh shit, man, because I'm thinking about it right now when he came out with, announced that Phantom Menace. I was like, oh shit, Star Wars, a new one. This can't be real. You know, I can't tell you how many times I was a little kid, I was like, damn, man, what happens after Return of the Jedi? Dreaming about different types of scenarios in Star Wars and shit. Then when he came out with the Phantom Menace, it wasn't as hardcore as what I was thinking about, except for the Darth Maul. But like everybody, we went to see it. I ain't gonna lie. The pod race scene had me falling asleep a little bit. Then when I saw it the second time, first I went out on a date to see it the first time. I went out with my boy because he didn't see it, but he wanted to see it. And we saw all the prequels together. Sometimes with his wife, sometimes with his son. But when I saw it with him, I was kind of falling asleep. Yeah, I guess it was kind of boring in some regards, but looking back in hindsight, like I kept telling people, once Disney got their hands on it, the first movie is the test. If they do it right, they on a roll. But if they mess it up, they fucked it up forever. And they messed it up. It's just like The Force Awakens. Everybody felt compelled to see that. They put the African guy in that to deceive a lot of black Americans. But anybody should know we don't look like that guy in that Star Wars. British guy, then they have these guys playing us in these movies, man. You should be pissed, man. That's why we need our own little Hollywood. We got to stop trying to think, okay, let me just get all this money. It's better to own than to get way more money if somebody else is paying you. Because you own your shit. You don't understand the powers that be, the bankers. Their whole thing is to give you as much money as you want, but not enough to make power moves. They give you as much money as they want to give because they own the money. They created the money. But they don't want your money. They want your assets. Whatever you create, they want to own it. The sooner you realize this, the sooner you'll wake up. This is why when my man sold BET, he went from owning something to now working for them. You think you're in control because you're the second highest stockholder in Viacom, but who calls the shots? It's not you. You call the shots after the white man calls the shots. That's what you do. And your shots can't conflict with his shots. So you own nothing. Diddy, all these guys, they own nothing. That's why they can't do anything. But they keep having these guys show off their wealth to make you aspire. That's the word I use. Aspire to get what they got. But in reality, they don't have anything. Now, with this Black Panther, somebody mentioned you should be inspired and it should aspire you. Now, what should it inspire you to do? Go to war? Try and build you a nice superhero suit? Is that the inspiration? Go back to go to Africa, rather? Is that the inspiration? What should you aspire to do? Get your own kingdom? I mean, black people get brainwashed, man. We start reading too much into these damn movies. At least with the brainwashing tactics that those who control Hollywood are trying to put into your mind, and their minions who go out and try to emphasize things that they want you to emphasize. It's called brainwashing. See, people like me, we look at the other side of the coin. Now, my man Sarah Suit and Seti was like, people like me are downers because we're hating because little kids are getting inspiration. When I was a little kid, I got inspiration from Star Wars. And I'm going to tell you what my inspiration was. And it's a lot of the same, especially when people saw Revenge of the Sith. My inspiration was, yeah, let me take over the world. That's what I want to aspire to do. You know? But obviously, you know, you need more things under control to do all that. But, so again, if that's what I got out of Star Wars, what the hell is somebody supposed to get out of Black Panther? We know Wakanda is not the most technologically advanced. Well, I'm sorry. We know Africa is not the most technologically advanced place in the world. It's one of the least technologically advanced places. Even in North Africa, Tunisia, Egypt, Algeria, where it's basically run by white people. Especially Tunisia and Algeria. You know, Tunisia looks like a place, if I were to live there, at least in the urban areas, it looks like a place I could tolerate. You know, Egypt looks like a place I can somewhat tolerate in the urban areas. You know, Algiers, I can somewhat tolerate that. But even then, they're not technologically advanced. You know? And they're not Arabs, they're Turks, by the way. At least the white ones. And there's still black people. Matter of fact, I saw a video on YouTube about segregation in Tunisia against the native Africans and the invading Turks who now call themselves Arabs. Thought that was pretty interesting. It's also pretty interesting how the media keeps showing more black North Africans, native North Africans now, which I think is pretty interesting. Especially in the wake of the fake Egyptian busts. I'm like, it's kind of weird what they do, man. It's like, if they have to tell part of the truth, they got to tell another lie. So they'll show black North Africans in Libya, Tunisia, indigenous to the area, not coming from Nigeria, Togo, or someplace to get to Europe. Indigenous black North Africans. But yet, then they'll come with the fake busts. Pretty weird, man. I mean, I guess it's psychological warfare in a weird way. But the Black Panther, Africa, is not technologically advanced. That's part of the fantasy, so to speak. And you can kind of say that they're playing the Africans as well, because it takes a comic book to give Africans technology. But in reality, you can't rely on a comic book. You can't rely on somebody else. You got to go make it happen. So I guess if that's going to inspire Africans to aspire to get highly technologically advanced, then okay, then that's cool for them. But not for us, because we don't have our own country. We're not fucking Africans. And the reason why I say that is because there's no evidence. And if anybody listens to TRS, I might have to pull that thing up. I don't know if my man recorded it or not, but pull the talk we had up. How people who are clear agents to try and manipulate the minds of black people and keep us under this African state of mind, so to speak. When we argue, I catch them in lies. See, this is what I do with people. This is why I frustrate the hell out of people. Only if you're lying, though, do I frustrate the hell out of you. If you're telling the truth, you can't get frustrated. But I know I'm frustrating the hell out of people. And here's the thing. This is why I never back down. Is because I actually enjoy frustrating the hell out of people. Been doing this ever since I was a kid. You know, every time people start lying and they wanted me to do something, I wouldn't do it. I was hard-headed is what they always called me. It's because if the stuff doesn't make sense, I'm not doing it. I'm not going along with you. Just because you want me to go along with you doesn't mean I should be going along with you. So we kept arguing about slave ships. The guy, Joe, I'll say his name. Everybody from the TRS listening to this, they know who the hell I'm talking about. he kept on talking about, oh, reason why you can't find slave ships is because the wood deteriorates in the water. I'm like, man, this is stupid. You know how many fucking wooden ships, how long they fucking lasted? Romans had the equivalent of cruise ships in the Mediterranean. And parts of those were found. You can look those shits up. I think it was during Mussolini's reign. They found those. You can call them sail barges or whatever you want to call them. They were big as hell. And they found those. And Rome, when did Rome go out? I think it was about 400 AD or something like that. 400 AD. So they found those. Ancient Egyptian ships, 4,000 years old. They found those. His excuse was, well, it's in the desert. It's been well preserved. That's according to the white man. Well, if it's in the water and it's well preserved, how the wooden ships deteriorating? Then he says, oh, well, you know, in different waters, you have different alkalinity and all that kind of stuff. You know, the salt helps to deteriorate the boats, and others, it's something else. I said, oh, okay, I get you. So if that's the case, then how the fuck did slaves get from Africa to the Americas? If the salt water broke it down. Then he's like, I didn't say salt, I said wind. I mean, everybody heard you say salt. Then he changes it to wind. See, when people change their stories, that's when they're lying. See, that's why people keep trying to challenge me, but I don't change my story. Because I've researched it. Now, if you present something new, you will hear me say, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, you're right about that. Some people just can't even bring themselves to say that. But I'm rarely wrong, so you don't hear that often from me, but you know. But he kept changing the water scenarios and all the excuses for the wooden boats deteriorating. I said, man, wooden boats have been around longer than steel boats. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense, man. And then he says, somebody brought up one boat being found in Alabama. I looked it up. That was on CNN. Looked it up. I didn't see the whole damn boat. Then the other guy was like, oh, that's a river, not an ocean. So, okay. I'm like, man, these guys are something else with these lies. But the bottom line is you have to prove it that we were slaves. Then, because like I said, the only thing you have to go on is what the white man is telling you. And for you people who say, I don't buy the white man on Egypt, I don't buy the white man on this, on that, white man is a liar about this, the white man is a liar about that, how come you accept the white man's lies or truth on slavery and where we're supposed to come from? How come you accept those lies or truth, but you reject others? See, it goes to show that you don't like some things, but you'll accept other things. And this we come from Africa stuff, I guess it's because a lot of us got the feeling that I got in school. You see other people coming from other countries all around the way, and you're like, okay, well, they come from here, they come from there. These people, Italian, Chinese, Jamaican. You're like, okay. Then you start thinking about yourself, damn, where do we come from? Because I remember asking my mother, I was like, where do we come from? Because all these other people come from here and there. White people say they come from the United Kingdom. Others, Germany, others all over the place. And I remember my mother, she was like, she said, that's where white people come from, England. That's how they used to talk. I said, damn. I said, what about us? I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't remember the answer. I really don't remember the answer. But must not have been Africa, because I probably would have remembered that. Or maybe I wasn't focused on it, or maybe it's because I didn't know anything about Africa and there was no African stuff banged into my mind. But I think that's what a lot of us feel. We're searching for a point of origin. And that's why, aside from the U.S., and that's why so many of us get stuck on Africa, and that's why the Afrocentrists and the master teachers always focus on Africa, because they said we need something to focus on. And if we would go centralize everything around Africa, then we can have a point of origin. The only problem with that is we don't know where in Africa, so we pick and choose this African culture, or we try to just throw them all in the pot and say we're all African people. You know how some people say things with vigor, act like raising their voice is supposed to make something more true. That's why you hear me staying the same calm voice at all times, because I'm not trying to emphasize a damn thing. All you have to do is think, do your research. And people will say, hey, you just don't like Africa. That's not my point. That's not my argument. My argument is, where is the evidence? When you go to court, you want the evidence. You don't want to go to prison even if you did the crime. You don't want to go to prison because somebody felt that you were guilty. The whole point of going to court is you're supposed to prove that you're guilty or innocent. Even though you shouldn't have to prove that you're innocent, but that's apparently what you have to do when you go to court. Especially when it's trial by jury, because people think that the defense has to prove that they're innocent. Truth be told, the defense doesn't really have to even come up with another scenario as to who did what crime. All they really have to do is just shoot down the prosecution's argument. Truth be told, but a lot of juries, they don't understand that. You're kind of handicapped when you go to court, because people think that you're automatically guilty, or you have to be guilty, or you better be guilty. And the state simply has to argue to the jury why you're guilty. And then the jury will just say, hey, he's guilty. But obviously, if the prosecution really messes up the case and they don't really have anything to prove, then the jury lets you go. But when you think about that Stacey Peterson, Scott Peterson cases, see, those are examples of guys going to prison, even though it's probably more likely than not that they killed their wives or the woman. But the point is, they went to prison with no direct evidence, and the circumstantial evidence isn't even good enough to send a man to prison for the rest of their lives. Now, that Chicago Peterson, he made the mistake by talking to the media all the time, wanting to be on TV. I just wouldn't have said shit at all. I would have just let them keep on filming me until they got tired of it. Eating a hamburger, going to the bathroom, whatever. Doing laundry, whatever. The Scott Peterson, his story, obviously, you go away with your wife on a boat, she's dead. You're not. You have to assume he's guilty. But the thing is, they're supposed to prove it. You just can't say, oh, this person's guilty. Because most times when people commit crimes or murders, and the only two people who are around are the victim and the perp, or the suspect. And we have to assume that since one of them died, hey, the only other person that was with them had to be the one that did it. So you need evidence. It's just like with the slavery. You need evidence. Same thing with the Holocaust. We get brainwashed because the media is a prime tool of brainwashing. Like I tell you, warfare. When it comes to warfare, the primary tool of warfare before actual combat is propaganda / brainwashing. That's the primary weapon of war. Primary. And another weapon of war that people don't realize is assassination. And for the government who's listening and hearing that word, this is supposed to be a free country. I'm just talking about the damn method of assassination and the fact that this is what happens in warfare. People will do that, take out one man or a few, so they won't have to fight an entire war. You know, that's what the JFK situation was about. Take down one man, take down his brother. That averts an entire war. But, of course, when worse comes to worse, you just go to full all-out combat for various reasons, you know. Sometimes it's covered just to steal things or just to destroy or just to kill people. But, again, when it comes to slavery, what is the evidence of slavery? Because when you ask these liberal type guys, these coons, these people who want to prop up and support what the white man has been telling everybody, they have no evidence. They try to sound smart and come with details that sound like they're details until you examine them and put them to the test. Then they say, oh, you can read the manifest on the ships. Man, it was 600 slaves on the ship, man. You can read them. Where do you find them at? In the British Museum. Oh, I gotta fly to Britain now. No, you can find them online. Why'd you tell me it's at the fucking British Museum then? I mean, damn. See, did they get caught in their lies, man? And I can guarantee you there's not a manifest for every goddamn ship out there with slavery. And I don't think I put it up, but we had another argument on that months back. When I did the math on the ship, you do that, you think about it. 600 slaves on a ship. I think they said something to the effect of 250 ships per month or per voyage or something like that. That didn't add up to enough slaves. And cargo, you're just not going back and forth for so damn long. And the ship is expensive. You're just not doing that for a little bit of people. You got to do that for a lot of people. And they keep talking about they try to change the ships up. But we know the famous drawing of all the ships with the slaves on it packed like sardines. Was that a fake drawing or was that a real drawing? If it was real, then that's what we expect to find. A ship like that. Don't bring us no Amistad. Don't bring us nothing else. I expect to see some Titanic type shit. That's what I expect to see. Now, I know there's somebody out there talking about, come on, man, you ain't gonna see no ship like the Titanic as a slave ship. Because that was the biggest ship at the time. I know that. But I'm talking about, I expect to see something pretty large. Now, again, you better look this up. I forgot what the hell the ship was called from Rome, but it was a gigantic cruise ship type thing with swimming pools or a whole bunch of shit on there from back in the Roman times. So if they could have that back then, 2,000 years ago, why couldn't they have that just a couple hundred years ago? Something big enough to take 6,000 slaves. But again, the reason why you wouldn't have that is because you got to deal with keeping them chained up so they won't mutiny the ship, feeding them, keeping them fed, water, keeping them bathed, keeping them healthy. They have to move around. There's no getting around that. They have to move around or they'll die. And that's why you have people talk about they died. They had to throw some overboard. Some even jumped because they didn't want to be slaves. You know, they tell you all these stories that can't really be verified. And if they say, yeah, man, it's written down. Where's it written down at? Then they start saying, oh, well, do you speak Portuguese? Do you speak Spanish? Do you speak French? That's what they start saying. Well, do you? I mean, how do you know this stuff, man? I mean, this is what I'm saying, man. You got to break down the lies. This is why these guys get frustrated, but they're trained to go back, analyze the bullshit that they were talking and how people like me broke it down. And then they try to revise their lies again in another way. But see, people like me, I like to analyze the facts and I use logic. I use common sense. And I know when people are lying because my radar goes up. Once I hear the first lie, I'm like, I got this guy. You know, that's why you got to stop lying. Just tell the truth. So again, the only evidence that we have that we come from Africa is the white man saying it. And I'm talking that is plain in general. Now, this doesn't mean that slavery did not happen. Because obviously slavery did happen, and we see the vestiges of it with this segregated society. And obviously during slavery, there weren't everybody from all over the world here at the time. You know? So we see the pictures of the store, Negroes for sale. We see that. We see that that's real. Even though I didn't look into the fine details of them, one day I might. And I think I did recall seeing some ads that said Negroes for sale, fresh from Africa, or something like that. You know? But again, those are the ones that came from Africa. Which wasn't all of us. I mean, we can't deny that. There's just way too many people. The numbers just don't add up. I mean, you just got to think about that, man. And then you look at the entire Americas. The man, W.E.B. Du Bois, said there are a total of about 14 million slaves from Africa shipped throughout the Americas throughout the duration of the transatlantic slave trade. That's from every country. The French, the British, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the Dutch. Every country. And I assume the United States after it was formed. But people like to keep putting it on the British only. So these are things we got to keep in mind. So when we see this Black Panther thing, a lot of us like to think, oh man, we should be happy. It's our African heritage. It's a comic book. And like many pointed out, written by Stan Lee. That's not his real name. That's an assumed name. He's a Russian Jew. Just like Jack Kirby, Jews, DC Comic, Jews. They want to control everything. See, they're masters at selling people cheap shit and making a profit out of it. And what do I mean by that? Comic books, not so much today, but definitely throughout most of comic book histories, it's made out of cheap newspaper. I mean, that's what it is. Cheap paper. Didn't cost shit, but they got you to buy. Just like records. Doesn't cost shit, but they got you to buy. CDs too. So this is what it's all about. But Black Panther, it's just a comic book movie. I'm sure it's great because I'm trying to think. I just said Thor. Those were the worst comic book films. Some say the Daredevil wasn't that great. They never had a sequel. I thought Daredevil was all right. I just didn't like. I forgot my man Bullseye. You know, I didn't like him. And I'm not sure why they made the Kingpin black, but, you know, it is what it is. I'd rather see a movie with Spider-Man battling the Kingpin myself, or Iron Man with Dr. Doom. You know, those would make better movies. But I know some people say you got movie rights and all that kind of stuff, but the Disney Fox, I don't even know if that went through yet. And something else I learned about that Disney Fox merger was, and I'd advise people to go out and buy the Star Wars on Blu-ray now, before it's too late, because you know Disney's going to change something up. Disney bought Lucasfilm, so that's why they made new Disney Star Wars movies, which are horrible, by the way. But Fox still own the original Star Wars distribution rights, the home movie rights, and all that kind of stuff in the theaters. Fox still owned that. See, that I had known. That's why I was like, damn, how come that explains why once Disney bought it, Lucasfilm, they came out with a newer version of the Blu-rays that were already out with a different cover. And I was thinking Disney put that out. But Fox put that out because they were trying to capitalize off of the news. So that's why you haven't seen the old Star Wars, prequels included, in a new format like 4K or something like that. And Disney, that's why they wanted to buy Fox, so they can totally own all Marvel and all of Star Wars, which I think is fucked up, because that means most of the damn movies will be coming out of Disney, and it's going to be the same old messages, brainwashing messages across the board. So you better buy your Star Wars up before they change it. Now, the only good thing Disney could do if they wanted to change things around was to redo the prequels and not remake them, but, redo the computer graphics and make them more up to date. Because I think that's the only real letdown in those prequels, besides some of the acting and everybody flipping before they do a lightsaber battle. But that's why I just bought the Star Wars again, because I said, okay, now that this Fox Disney thing is going through, because I was trying to wait for the originals to come out as they were, but I said, man, I guess we're going to have to take it as it is, because I have a feeling Disney's going to tinker around with the real message of Star Wars, which is the real message, man. That's why Lucas was always independent. You're going to find that message is real, and you see how they changed it around with Disney stuff. They just made a horrible movie. Horrible. The Marvel movies are on point, but the Star Wars is horrible. So Black Panther, I already know that's going to be hot. It looks hot. It looks cool. When he was in Civil War, he was looking cool, because I had my doubts about Black Panther on film. And, when I saw him in Civil War, I said, oh, shit, this man is cool. But Spider-Man wasn't looking cool, though. I didn't like how they had him in there. It's like they put him in it as an afterthought. And people talk about Wesley Snipes was supposed to play Black Panther. Let me tell you who else was supposed to play Black Panther. It was Michael B. Jordan. He was supposed to play Black Panther. But for some reason, Chadwick Boseman, he got the role, and Michael B. Jordan got the role of the Killmonger. I guess that's his consolation prize. So I guess he had the Creed series, so I'm sure he'd rather have the Black Panther series, though, but at least he got in it, though, And this is also good for Chadwick Boseman, because my man was starting to get typecast as playing famous black people in history and shit. I think, didn't he do 3? Was it 3 guys he played those historic? I know you got to get the roles when you get them. After a while, people start like, oh, shit, this guy's doing the same thing. But the Black Panther broke him away from it. My man does a good job of putting on the some type of African accent. I don't know what kind it is, but I guess it's good enough to convince people that it's some type of African accent. So that's a good thing. And I also find it weird Angela Bassett kept on trying to kiss my man a whole lot, man. I thought that's supposed to be a married woman. She over here kissing people, trying to kiss my man on the lips, kissing him on the ears and shit. I'm like, damn, man. I thought she was a happily married woman. What's she trying to do? And you can see he's kind of nervous, because he's like, damn, I wasn't expecting this. I'm sure he'd take it, but he's probably thinking what I'm thinking. Damn, she's supposed to be married. I can't just do this like that. But yeah, the Black Panther hysteria, man. They always have black people trying to read too much into it. When it's deep, because movies, they always give you more meaning than what it really is, because they want to brainwash you into other things. But as far as I didn't see it, but people really detailed it and outlined it, said that Black Panther represented the conformist black, and Killmonger represented the Malcolm X. If we got the power to stop these people, let's do it. And worrying about all people, Pan-African style. So, if you want to say that that's a good thing, we got to look at this. It's Hollywood, who won? So whoever wins, that's that. They're basically saying that's the way things should be. But they said black people wrote it. Now, I didn't look up the entire thing, even though I could right now, but they say, listen, in movies, this is how it goes. Matter of fact, let me look this shit up right now. Because this is how things go in movies. You always have a writer, you always have a director. But what you have is you have the producer. The producer is the one. Okay, here we go. The producer is the one that calls the shots, not the director. As you've seen in Star Wars, the directors, they could be fired. Okay, here we go. Produced by Kevin Feige or Feige. Written by Ryan Coogler, Joe Robert Cole. Based on Black Panther by Stan Lee and all of them. Edited by production company Marvel Studios. Distributed by Walt Disney. Cost $200 million, made $404 million. Now let's see who this Kevin Feige is. White guy. That's the producer. Damn. Films he produced have combined worldwide box office grosses of over $13 billion. He's the film producer of Marvel Studios. I admit my man's been doing a good job though. And let's see who he is. I'm sure he is what he is, but they don't say here. So let's see who Ryan Coogler, what's he all about? American film director, Fruitvale Station. Okay, that was a good effort. Let's see. Written and directed the seventh film in the Rocky film saga Creed. Oh, okay, that explains how that connection is. Marvel Cinematic Universe superhero Black Panther. Okay, all right. He frequently collaborates with actor Michael B. Jordan, who has appeared in all of his feature films. Okay, out of Oakland. All right, I can't knock my man. My man is all right. But again, the producers, they call the shots on any film. Like you look at the blaxploitation flicks of the 70s. They were almost all produced by Jews. Some people like to just say white, but it's critical to say Jew because then you know what that group's primary goal is. Because you don't see Italians producing those things. You don't see Italians trying to get involved with black people's lives. So that's why I have to point out the Jew. So most of them were produced by Jews. Many were directed by Jews. But for those who were not, now some were co-written by Jews, some were co-written by blacks. Because sometimes they had to have the realism of the black people that only black people can experience. It's like Shaft. The original book was written by Ernest Tidyman, a white dude, which I have not read. But, I'm sure it differs from the actual movie, which had Gordon Parks Sr. in it. And the actors in the movie, I'm sure they show how to black it up some more, Because you look at the difference between Shaft's big score, both Gordon Parks. That was blackness, man. It was strong. That's why we like it. Superfly, Gordon Parks Jr., his son. That was hardcore blackness. It was produced by a white guy, a Jew. He had the money. And he was in the movie, too, at the end. But it was hardcore blackness. You can't deny that. Shaft in Africa. You see that got softened up because that one was directed by a white dude. Then they got a guy playing in blackface. You wouldn't have had that with Gordon Parks. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, look at Coolie High. Based on a black man's story written by a black man. You see the hardcore blackness in that. So you could tell the difference. Just like the same guy that did Good Times too. You could see and feel the blackness. You could feel the realism because many of us have been in these predicaments that you see in these movies. But when it's done by white people, you could tell it's a little bit different. Now, a favorite movie of mine that from the 70s is Truck Turner. That was directed by a white dude, a Jew. Produced by one too. I think it was written by him too. Now, it has some elements of blackness. I guess with black people calling each other niggers and shit. And pimps and hoes, if you want to call that blackness. But it kind of veers off into another alternate reality, so to speak. It's not as hardcore black, but it was still good. I still like it. And you'll see that with a lot of films, But the bottom line is with all of them is they're controlling it. They're controlling the images that we can come out with. If you noticed, the movies from the 70s, and like I said, I've been checking movies from the 60s that feature black people because, they're not well publicized. But if you look at these movies, it's always concerning, number one, the black American experience as seen through the eyes of the Jew. They want to hold back on some things. They don't want to give you the full black experience because if they give you the full black experience, that means somebody has to be charged. So they don't want to go full. But the image is controlled by them. It's either you're poor, hopeless, and it's the southern white man that's keeping you down, or you're poor, you better just sell drugs, become a whore, prostitute to get out of poverty. Like you see now with the rap music. The rappers want to be drug dealers and the female rappers want to be strippers and hoes. Same scenario, people. So then they'll try to lighten things up with Sounder, Claudine, movies like those. Keep you in misery. And of course, we know the latest wave with the slave films, starring foreign blacks, I might add. But I'll tell you what kind of movies you haven't seen. And they'll never make. Films about Egypt. Films about the Moors. The Hannibal movie. Films about black rulers of Europe. Films about Olmecs. Anything that breaks the mold of their lies about history. You'll never see it. People will make up many excuses. Oh, the budget might be too big. Listen, if you're creative, you can make your movie. George Lucas didn't have the biggest budget for Star Wars. He made his movie. And a lot of times when your budget is limited, it kind of forces creativity out of the people more. And that's why somebody was telling us, like we were talking about it the other night, about Bad Boys 3 coming out. That's a good example of what happens when you get a bigger budget. Bad Boys was pretty good. Then Bad Boys 2 had the big budget. And I saw that one in the theaters, and once it's said and done, you're left with a whole lot of explosions, a whole lot of destruction, but the story wasn't happening. And you get that with big budget movies a lot. Because that's what they figure. Oh, more explosions, more bigger this, bigger that. But when your budget is smaller, that's why a lot of the smaller budget films stay true to a lot of people's hearts, man, because they have to put more into it. They have to get more creative and work and maximize what they have with what little they have. See, when you feel like, man, the budget is unlimited, $200 million, hey, man, go out and get me the best, you know? And then you see what happens. They just spend money on special effects, and then that's it. Some movies, I forgot one of them, wasn't necessarily a black movie, but I think they spent about $250 million on it. I'm like, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it in the effects, man. It happens that way. But yeah, this Black Panther Hysteria, man. I mean, I don't mind film promotion. Do whatever you have to do to promote a film. Just stop bullshitting the black people. That's all I gotta say, man. Stop acting like this movie is gonna change our lives. It's not gonna change our lives any more than any other Marvel comic movie. I mean, come on. We really have to stop this madness. I even had a woman who is totally not into superhero films and not really into too many action films ask me if I saw it. I'm like, man, they really did a number on black people, man. They really got black people brainwashed. But that's all, at the end of the day, it's all marketing hype on all levels to get you to go see it. If they could pay a few people to talk about it, watch the food reviews on YouTube. Those people are paid. I don't know how they got the sponsorship of the job, but they're paid to do that. It's promotion. It makes you, and you notice 9 times out of 10, the guys are always like, yeah, this is good. Oh, this is great. Because they want you to go out there and at least try it. That's all it is. You know, when you're dealing with movies, box office, if you try it, you bought it. If you try it, it counts and it's a hit. A lot of people don't realize you can go to the movies and you can ask for your money back. A lot of people don't realize that. Usually, up to about a half hour to 40 minutes, you can say, man, I want my money back. You can get it. Because once you walk out of the theater like that and you talk to the manager, they'll do it. But if you saw half of it, they probably won't do that. They'll probably give you a pass for some free movies in the future. I remember one summer, my boy and some other dudes we were with, shit, he was complaining about one movie to the next. And he got us all free passes and shit for like 5 movies or something like that. So that whole summer, man, we seen everything for free. You know, that's when sometimes you know, things can come off like that. But the Black Panther, I'm sure it's a great film. I added to my collection because I like the Marvel films. Because I used to read comic books, so I don't collect comic books anymore. But at least the movies, you know, they give you a good idea of, you know, remind you of how it was to read comic books. And I don't think that they can get any better in the future, but hey, I didn't think the Batman from Michael Keaton could have gotten any better, but it did. So you never know what the future might hold. But right now, Marvel's got their shit together. Guardians of the Galaxy is fun. I didn't like the last one too much because I didn't like the enemy. That took it too far. But I think in Spider-Man, like I said, the next Spider-Man, they need to have Kraven the Hunter in Spider-Man. I never liked him in the cartoon or the comic book. I mean, I didn't mind them, but I thought they showed him too much sometimes. But I think in the movies, I think Kraven the Hunter would be cool. Just like Iron Man. See, that's when you think about it, the second tier characters, like the Black Panther, he might even be a third tier character. But Iron Man is definitely a second tier character. Kraven the Hunter, probably a third or fourth tier character. Those kind of guys, Dr. Doom, if they get them right, those kind of guys, they, I guess Dr. Doom is the first tier, or it could be second tier. But those guys seem to translate better on film for some odd reason. They haven't really gotten the Hulk right, even though the Incredible Hulk movie with Ed Norton, that was on point. But I don't think it did as well because the first one with Ang Lee, that was boring, that was horrible. So a lot of people didn't want to take the chance. So I think that's why they set up Black Panther the way they did and put him in the Captain America Civil War movie. Because the original plan was for Black Panther to just come out with his own movie and then incorporate him into the Avengers. But instead, they figured, you know what, let's back this up. And I'm sure race probably has something to do with it. And that's part of the reason for all this hype, to make sure that at least black people go see it. And a lot of black people also, 'cause as I close this out, they kept making foolish statements like, this movie made $400 million and black people put down all that money for the Black Panther. How come they can't do it for other films? It's because black people didn't put all that money down. You keep forgetting white people love comic books too and love to see these continuations as well. You know, so I'm sure white people put down at least 2/3, you know. It's the same type of numbers for whatever other Marvel movie that comes out except for the Thors. Because the Thors, you know, they start getting into that barbarian type shit that some people don't like, you know. So I'm surprised Thor has made what it has made, to be honest with you. Because I used to collect the comic books of Thor just because I saw that Thor has been around for a while and had high numbers. So I said, shit, I guess, you know, must have been cool. So I might as well get it. But I think in the next Thor, I think they need to put in my man, what was his name? Beta Ray Bill. They need to put him in there. They had him in at the end of one movie. I think it was the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. They need to put my man in there. I thought that was a weird character, but you know, they need to put him in there. So, you know, it is what it is. Other black movies aren't hyped up like this because it doesn't have the Disney machine behind it. That's what you have to keep in mind. It's the Disney machine, the birth of a nation. People try to say, oh, because the movie dropped, they talked about the rape allegations and all that kind of stuff. You got to understand that was part of the hype machine because they could have dropped that shit anytime. Years ago, decades ago, or whenever it happened. But it came out at that time to hype up the movie. They always do that. So, I mean, stop being played, people. So it's all marketing. I would have gone to see the shit anyways. I'm gonna see it one way or the other, either in the theater. I'm gonna buy the shit on Blu-ray or 4K. If it come out on 4K, I'm gonna definitely buy it. I think it should because, like I said, The Incredible Hulk, that's about to come out on 4K. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that's out on 4K. But like I said, I wasn't too crazy about the enemy, so you know, I'm not gonna buy that one. You know, and I mean, when I used to read the comic books, Guardians of the Galaxy, I think we're talking 3rd, 4th tier type characters. So, you know, I was never really into them like that, especially like the Defenders and the Inhumans. I kind of like the Inhumans. The Defenders, they were definitely 3rd or 4th tier. So, Luke Cage as well. But, you know, they keep trying to stretch it out, getting all the money they can. I guess they can because they got the characters, but, you know, it is what it is. Just don't think the movie is about you, black people, because most of the cast is African or Caribbean. So stop falling for the hype. Stop thinking that Africa was good for Africa is good for us, or what's good for the Caribbean is good for us, because that's not the case. What's good for them is good for them. And it's never good for us. In fact, these people are taking jobs from black American actors. How come they want Africans and British black people to play us in our history? I think you better watch my video, The British Invasion 3.0, and that might give you some good ideas. I'm glad that's had positive response from blacks and whites, for that matter, because I think people are starting to see it. These events with the guns, and they want to take your guns away. I mean, it might be softening people up for British rule again. You know, might sound impossible, but hey, man, the British didn't go around taking people's country by not trying to do it. I can tell you that.